There you go. Yep, there you go. Okay, here we are. I'm looking at the timer, I'm looking at you guys. I can barely see you guys out there. All right, so who's nervous? I can't see you guys because of the light, so it doesn't really matter. So a couple months ago, I heard about this TEDx, and I got really excited. I'm a photojournalist. I covered Ferguson. My name's Gill. I've covered international stories. Am I talking too fast? Okay. So I filled out this little form online, and the form's about this big. And it says, what would you like to speak about? And so I wrote it. And the form kept staying that big, but I kept on writing and writing and writing. My presentation was perfect. It was 10 minutes long. But I decided not to give it because I didn't save it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I didn't expect to be picked. I mean, photojournalists, we show pictures, we go on an assignment, we're invisible. But I'm here. And I didn't save it. So when I was picked, I got really nervous because I didn't really have a presentation. So I went home and I wrote it, and I had it all, it was perfect. But then it sat on my desk, and I read it a couple more times, and last Wednesday, to the group's chagrin here, I said, I'm not going to give the presentation. Sorry. I decided to shred it tomorrow morning. Do you guys want to know what the presentation was going to be about? It was going to be, come along with me, I'm a photojournalist. I'm going to show you what it was like to cover Ferguson. It was corny, and I've seen TED Talks before, and it didn't really do this stage justice. Wait a minute. All right, this is an older version, so bear with me. So it didn't really do this justice. So I thought, it's a talk. I don't have to really write a speech about it. So here it goes. When I was at the Tribune here in town, I had a picture editor. His name is Mike Stewart. He's a Southeast bureau chief of the Associated Press right now. He's kind of a big dude. So I said, Mike, no, actually, he told me one day, he said, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and most of the time, a good one doesn't need to be accompanied by any. Reporters didn't like that very much. So I said, Mike, I want to go out and do a picture story. Do I find a reporter before or later? He goes, oh, go find the story, work on the story for a little bit, and when you find it coming along, then we'll find a scribbler for you. I'm like, what? A scribbler? Oh, yeah. You know, the person from the newsroom that goes out with a piece of paper and follows you around going, Well, I love reporters. I love going down rabbit holes with them. I love going deep down rabbit holes and finding what stories are all about. I'm still nervous. The Associated Press says when you go on an assignment with them, they want you to send them 3 good ones or 2 great ones. The New York Times wants you to shoot a picture story every time you go out. Send them 25 images. I still didn't know what to do my presentation on. So I thought, what do I do it on? Well, this is the presentation that I give my friends and family after I go cover an assignment. That's not it. This is 1/3 of the pictures from the second day of my Ferguson coverage. I'll show you what it includes. Can you see it? It includes them putting up barricades in front of the fire area, them fixing up downtown. That's the place where it was burned. But I'm not going to show you any of those images tonight. Here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what I saw. I'm going to show you the stories that I tell my friends and family. The Gang of 5. They were standing right next to the Ferguson Mart, or Ferguson Market. The Ferguson Market is where Michael Brown went to buy cigarettos the day he was shot. In the back is a church, and when I was there, a Baptist minister pulled up in the church with his beautiful, nice car. But I'll talk about him in a minute. So I asked these guys, I said, so what are you guys doing? They said, we're a gang of 5. I went, okay. Well, how many people are in your gang? They said, 5. And I said, so why are you guys in a gang? Well, we're in a gang because nobody else is going to protect us, because we're here on our own, because the police won't protect us and we need to protect ourselves against other gangs. We used to be protecting ourselves against other gangs. Now we protect ourselves against police. I said, so what is this? What is the hand gesture? And they said, that's our gang sign. And I said, but what is this? And they said, that's for police. So I asked one of the guys, I asked him, I said, so have you guys ever been hurt? And they said, yeah. I said, do you guys know anyone who's been hurt? They said, yeah, we all know people who've been shot, and some of them killed. And one of the guys had a teardrop tattoo underneath his eye, and so I asked him what was that. I asked him what that was for, and he said it was for a friend of his. This is the McDonald's that was burned down the street. We're going to move past these for a second. So this Baptist minister comes up and unrolls this sign in front of these guys and says, hey, can you guys hold the sign? Hold it for the cameras. And I was right there, and he looks at me as I was taking pictures, and he says, what are you doing taking pictures? I'm like, I'm telling a story. So he hands them the sign, and they don't want to hold it. One of the guys has his hands up. That's a symbol of protest. Another guy has his flag upside down. That's also a symbol of protest. The pastor just doesn't get it. I love this guy. You can't see him, but he's really dark, and he's right there in the middle. This is after he gave his speech. I shot video of the speech, and I lost it, unfortunately. And I have it at home, probably somewhere on one of my many hard drives, but I'll tell you kind of what he was speaking about. He says to the National Guard, how dare you come here and defend a murderer? By standing here and standing on his side, you're defending him. You're here to protect him. How do you sleep at night? I'm here for my kids. I don't want to be shot by police. He sees one of the National Guard, a little smile. I saw you. I saw that. You smiled. Because you smiled, I got to you. You get it. I love you. I wish I could come over there and hug you right now. You'll resign from this group and come back and really do something good. So on the second night of the protest, people were protesting down, and they were vying back and forth for control of the street with police. And this guy over here with the megaphone kind of pulls away and says, we need to march to City Hall. So he's marching to City Hall underneath the light of a police helicopter. He's saying City Hall is where we need to do the change. That's where it needs to happen. He's up against City Hall. He's banging his hand or his foot up against the door saying, this is where change needs to happen. And then he goes, oh, expletive, I didn't mean to do that. And he lowers the megaphone. In that one moment where he lowers the megaphone, someone throws a cinder block through the window. See the timestamp? A couple seconds later, they stand on top of a police car. Within a minute, they had rolled the police car. Did you guys see this on the news? Did you guys see the guy in front of City Hall in the news? This is 2 minutes. This is 9 minutes later. So I was working with this reporter. This reporter is from Sweden. This is my favorite story about Ferguson. And the reporter says, my editors say that they're tired of hearing the stories about the protesters and the protests going on because they're going to continue, but what we want to do is we want to find out what's happening really with the protests, really what they're talking about. So we want to find one protester and ask them about why they're protesting and why they're doing what they're doing. Do you know this person? I said, oh, I met her yesterday. So here I am, a white guy with a jacket on over a police vest, carrying a Kevlar helmet and gas mask in my backpack, and I lean into the window of this masked car with loud music, and I said, hey, my name is Dan Gill. I'm a contract photojournalist. I'm working with a Swedish reporter. We're telling the story of Ferguson, and we'd like to interview you tomorrow. Is that okay? Can I get your phone number? And she said, sure. So she gave me her phone number, and I said, hey, we'd like to meet someplace kind of just public, someplace you're familiar with and comfortable with. There's a McDonald's down the street, down the highway. It's about a mile from where you live. And she said, I don't know how to get there. And I said, what do you mean you don't know how to get there? It's the next block on the highway. It's the next exit. And she said, we don't go that far west. Okay, I drove here from Columbia, Missouri. I drove 120 miles to get here. And you're telling me that you don't drive a mile west on I-70? Yeah. Why? She goes, I'm the mother of 2 children. I don't want to be arrested. And if I'm arrested, I'll probably be put in jail. And that can't happen. I said, where do you go? She said, I drive from home to drop off my kids at school, and then I drive east on 70 downtown, if you guys are familiar with St. Louis, and I go to school there where I'm working on my GED. And I said, you're going to kind of freak out here, because this reporter's from Sweden. And she went, no, I wish I would have shot a video of her reaction because it took several minutes. And then finally, I said to the Swedish reporter, I said, do you mind if you ask her a question in Swedish? So she did. She said, what's your name? And she freaked out again. And then she started talking about her experiences. So this is the protester, I thought, from Ferguson. She's wearing the t-shirt, the angry t-shirt, and she's wearing the hat, and she's crying. She's not angry. She's upset. She's crying. She's sad. She's listening to Michael Brown's mom talk about what she felt about the verdict the night of the verdict. Those are pictures of her kids. So actually, I had a different slide that went here, but I'm just going to go ahead and, well, actually, never mind. I'm kind of nervous now. So this is from her. What would you do if he were your son? If this was your community? You don't really understand unless it happens to you. So what was the story about? Was it about the riot in Ferguson? Was it about the militarization of police? Was it about the journalists who were arrested? So now what? Well, Ferguson's a complicated story. It requires time, patience, and empathy to understand. We all travel those well-trodden roads every single day. We all go from home to school to work to home again, just like she does. What we need to do is move off those paths till we can understand other people and what they do. Same story, different day. This is what journalists hate talking about. First of all, it's covered a lot because, is this a problem? Second, does this story need attention? That's the question that journalists are asking themselves. And then third, why do we keep telling the story or hearing the story time after time again and people still don't get it? Or maybe they don't believe it. So here's a couple of solutions. Here's solution number one. Go to your local newspaper. Ask if you can sit in a news meeting. Ask questions. Listen. Go home and try to understand. Solution number two. Go to a protest. Ask a protester why they're protesting, and then listen. And then go home and try to understand. I had a good speech in front of this one. So over 200 years ago, our country was in revolution. We chose to go to war against the largest country in the world. Not the largest country, I'm sorry, but the largest military in the world. And we chose what we thought was the best form of government, democracy. And this is what Thomas Jefferson wrote long ago about democracy. A proper functioning democracy depends on a well-informed electorate. I think he was right back then in a time of revolution, and I think he's right today. Thank you for your day. Thank you for your time.